Good, happy Saturday morning, January 18, 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Saturday morning, so let's begin. First up, shots fired. Investigation underway in Laconia. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
This economy is not working for most of us. There is not one county in the United States of America where someone working full-time at the minimum wage can afford a two-bedroom apartment. The biggest problem in our economy is simple. People are not getting paid enough.
Breaking overnight, police in Laconia confirm a shots fired investigation is underway there. The chief tells News 9 someone fired a gun at a driveway on Pine Street after some sort of dispute happened around 9:30 last night. No one was hit. A suspect is in custody. More information is expected to be released later this morning.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Red Cross officials put call out for more blood donations. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Siobhan Lopez.
This economy is not working for most of us. There is not one county in the United States of America where someone working full-time at the minimum wage can afford a two-bedroom apartment. The biggest problem in our economy is simple. People are not getting paid enough.
No matter the weather, there is always a need for people to give the gift of life and donate blood.
We're actually in a critical need right now. Winter is a tough time for us with cancellations.
Stephanie Couturier works for the Red Cross and now truly knows how life-changing those donations can be. After her twins were born, one of them started getting sick.
This can't be happening.
Paige was 3 months old when her parents noticed something wasn't right.
My husband actually noticed that her fontanelle on her head was bulging, and he made note of that to the nurses, and they did a spinal tap and found out that she had bacterial meningitis.
The infection was so serious, Tiny Paige suffered a stroke and needed emergency surgery, receiving several blood transfusions.
We didn't know if we were going to see her again.
Doctors gave her a 1 in 3 chance of surviving. She had to go back for 2 different surgeries to reconstruct her skull.
During both of those procedures, she actually needed blood products and transfusions at that time as well.
Stephanie calls Paige their miracle, and now as a happy and healthy 3-year-old, she is a prime example of how donating blood can give someone a second chance.
Hopefully, when you or a loved one needs blood themselves, that blood is available for them as well.
For more on how you can donate, head to WMUR.com or our mobile app. Siobhan Lopez, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Dangerously cold weather moves into Granite State. Residents urged to limit time outside for themselves and the pets. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Bernie Sanders is on our side and always has been, fighting to protect the woman's right to choose, to fully fund Planned Parenthood, make childcare affordable, and
We work closely, our outreach team, with the City of Manchester, Manchester Fire, and the Health Department, and other outreach teams in the city to go out and do what we call fatality prevention. So that started 24 hours ago.
With temperatures in the single digits Friday night, New Horizons in Manchester is trying to bring people inside and is prepared for a full house.
Everybody is checking in early because it's really cold out there. So I think that we're going to likely hit capacity this evening. Our numbers are starting to already peak.
Once the shelter fills their 108 beds, those in need are referred to warming stations where staff are ready for large numbers.
They work really hard to make sure that we provide the best services that we can. And then our warming station does a great job with the volunteers to be prepared for that as well. So we're ready. We always are ready for the folks that need the services and the shelter.
If outside for long periods of time, doctors say covering up your skin as much as possible is important.
It can ultimately freeze. The first thing you get is that burning sensation, chilblains, where your face will get red and really start to sting.
And if you experience those frostbite symptoms, use warm water or moderate heat to warm up.
What you don't want to do is rub vigorously. If you're rubbing vigorously and you've actually got injury, frostbite, that can cause damage to the tissue and you won't even know it because you won't feel it.
And New Horizons does go out with city agencies to try to convince those who want to stay outside to go ahead and come inside, and at the very least, just let them know what their options are. In Manchester, Jessica Moran, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. So if you go outside, everyone, be prepared. 2 killed in single vehicle crash in New Ipswich, police say. Take a look at this photo here. This is the photo from the crash scene. 2 men were killed when a pickup truck they were in went off the road, hit several trees, and rolled on its side in New Ipswich on Thursday afternoon, police said. The crash happened just before 3 p.m. on Route 124 in New Ipswich, police said in a press release. The 2 men became trapped inside the Ford F-350 after the crash. Rescue crews extracted them, but both men succumbed to their injuries at the scene. The men's names have not been released, but police said Friday they were both from Jaffrey and in their late 20s. The men were the only ones in the pickup and no other vehicles were involved in the crash. The cause of the crash is under investigation. Professional bull riders comes to Manchester. Event is first of its kind for the city of Manchester. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Jessica Moran.
Bernie Sanders is on our side and always has been, fighting to protect a woman's right to choose.
Yes, you have that right. This is the first time in professional bull riders' history that they will be coming to Manchester. And this afternoon, crews have been working all afternoon, really, to put down 750 tons of dirt inside SNHU Arena. This is one of 30 stops the Professional Bull Riders Tour will make. Tomorrow, 35 of the best riders in the world will be here trying to hold on to a nearly 2,000-pound animal for 8 seconds. Riders come from as far as Brazil, Australia, Mexico, and Canada. Of course, professional bull riding is a family-friendly event.
Kids usually love rodeo, and most adults are skeptical about it when they don't hear and they don't know about it growing up. But then when they come and they watch it, it's always one of them things they look forward to going and seeing again when it comes back to town.
And tickets are still available. Tomorrow night's event starts at 6:45, Sundays at 1:45. In Manchester, Jessica Marin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Looks like a fun event there. Man from Guatemala set to be deported after illegally returning into the U.S. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Andy Hirschberger.
About 24 people gathered outside federal court in Concord Friday to support Nelson Fuentes. The man from Guatemala was before a federal judge for sentencing after being found guilty of entering the country illegally.
I'm very worried. I'm very worried, especially for my daughter and for my wife.
Fuentes was originally deported in 2014 and re-entered the U.S. again at some point. This past summer, he was detained after a traffic stop in Seabrook. Fuentes now has an 8-month-old daughter who was born in the United States.
This impacts every single one of us here because we all live in community with immigrants, with undocumented folks.
Fuentes was sentenced to time served, but was immediately taken into custody by ICE agents and will remain in federal detention while his immigration case is appealed.
It was an injustice. He didn't commit any big crime. He didn't kill anybody. He didn't rob anybody. It's unjust what they just did to Nelson.
Horrified that a father was just ripped from his baby's life, not even given a chance to say goodbye. Who does that?
Fuentes' appeal will be before a federal immigration judge. No word on how long that will take. Reporting live from Andy Hirschberger, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Bennett says he'll try to visit New Hampshire when he can during impeachment trial. Senators campaigning for president shift focus to impeachment. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Mike Cronin.
Bernie Sanders is on our side and always has been, fighting to protect a woman's right to choose.
Inside of 25 days until the first in the nation primary, Michael Bennett feels he's gaining momentum. At Fidelity's Merrimack office Friday, Bennett says he designed his campaign to be in it, at least until New Hampshire votes.
Spent more time in this state than any other candidate for president, and by the time this will be over, I will have spent the most time here.
But jury duty is coming Tuesday as the Senate impeachment trial against President Trump begins. And Bennett's not alone. Fellow Democratic Senators Amy Klobuchar, Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders will all be in Washington instead of on the campaign trail.
Obviously, it worries me, but there's nothing I can do about it. We've got a constitutional obligation to fulfill in Washington, and I will fulfill it.
During the impeachment trial, if there's a day off or a free weekend, Bennett will be back campaigning in New Hampshire. It'll be a lot of traveling, but Bennett says it's worth it because he believes he can beat Donald Trump.
Landed here today. I'll be here the rest of the weekend and then off to Iowa for one quick trip, back to Washington, then back to New Hampshire.
Some Republicans argue the 4 senators should recuse themselves from the trial because they're trying to replace President Trump in the White House. Bennett disagrees.
What I would say to them in particular is if you really want to have a fair trial and ensure a fair trial, we should have witnesses and we should have documents, and the American people should have a chance to weigh the evidence that can be presented about the the offenses that the president's been indicted for.
In Merrimack, Mike Cronin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And now let's take a look at your 2020 candidate tracker for today. Let's see what candidates are in New Hampshire today. And here's a look at that 2020 New Hampshire candidate tracker for today. We have a bunch of candidates in New Hampshire today, so let's begin with the list. The first candidate we're talking about, Michael Bennett. He has one event today in New Hampshire, Concord Immigration Conversation at Civex Strategy Group in Concord, New Hampshire at 3 p.m. Tulsi Gabbard, she's also in New Hampshire today and has one event today in New Hampshire. Town Hall at the New Hampshire Hills Athletic Club in Milford, New Hampshire at 4:30 p.m. Bernie Sanders, he's also in New Hampshire today. He has two events today in New Hampshire. His first event, Town Hall at Exeter High School in Exeter, New Hampshire at 3:30 p.m. And his second event, a rally at McLaughlin Middle School in Manchester, New Hampshire at 6 p.m. And also, Bill Weld, he's in New Hampshire today, and he has one event today in New Hampshire. A 2020 New Hampshire Women's Rally March on the polls at the New Hampshire State House in Concord, New Hampshire at 12 p.m. And those are all the candidates in New Hampshire today. If you want to see that list, just head on over to the Riley King Network Facebook page. Landlord in deadly New York City explosion sentenced. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
You'll remember the images from here in New York City, that massive building explosion that killed 2 in 2015. Well, tonight, a building landlord and contractors have been sentenced for an illegal gas line that turned deadly. Here's Ariel Reshef.
Tonight, sentences handed down for the deadly gas explosion in Manhattan that destroyed 3 buildings, killing 2 and injuring more than a dozen. This was the scene in 2015. Surveillance video capturing the moment of the blast. A 5-story building engulfed in flames. Investigators saying the fireball was sparked by an illegally tapped gas line to make unlicensed renovations. The 3 suspects learning their fate today. Building owner Maria Hernanko, Athanasios Ioannis, and Dilber Kukic, all sentenced today to 4 to 12 years in state prison. The victims saying the punishment is too light.
We just wanted justice. I wanted them to feel our pain.
David, the blast shed light on the vulnerabilities in New York City's infrastructure. The DA saying today's sentencing is a consequence of cutting corners for profit. David?
Ariel, thank you.
Hi. Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all enjoyed watching. Have a great rest of your Saturday, and I'll see you back here later on today for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Goodbye, everyone.